welcome to another edition of Prod.cast. I'm SK.
I'm Andric.
And I'm Basil.
Yeah, and you guys heard the nice little introduction that we have just gotten ourselves. This is to shout out to Harry and really thanks very much for that awesome music.
If you're listening right now, you should be able to hear in the background very nice BGM music, and it's completely free thanks to my friend Harry. He has offered to put together a nice little intro track for us. So thank you so much, man.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah. So today's topic is really kind of heavy. That's why and I decided to make this topic. Wanted to talk about this topic is because personal experience. But before I even start this particular topic, I just want to ask you guys, how long do you usually spend on working, or how long do you usually how much an average? How long do you spend on your work? A day, just.
Oh, okay. There are two parts to my work. First part will be shooting. Second part will be editing. Shooting will depend on whether I have any bookings for the day, but I still need to edit on a day-to-day basis on the average, and it averagely takes me about maybe 3 to 4 hours a day just to edit. But I'm getting older now. I can't edit 6-7 hours straight already.
Yeah.
So that's how much time it takes me to do my work a day.
How about this?
6-7 hours.
Whoa.
That's a lot.
I mean, that's I guess I spend most of my day doing like paperwork actually. I mean, if it's shooting, then it's shooting lah.
Yeah.
So, but most of the time I'm doing paperwork, like pitching, writing pitches, writing like proposals, trying to find projects to pitch for, and then also trying to see who I can meet to, prospect. So I could say anything from office hours, which is 10 to 6 for us, to like, I could even be working through dinner or through the night lah. But I don't do client work after office hours if wherever possible. Yeah.
What about you, SK?
Quite honestly speaking, for me, my working hours usually I felt that is much way longer. I probably spend around 8 to 9 hours at times. Partially because I even do a lot of other things, not just like right now I'm actually doing tuitions for kids. But if you only look at my actual teaching time, you might realize that it's actually very short. But the idea that there's a lot more behind it as well. Like for example, marking, lesson preparations, or even sometimes just as simple as just sending a very simple report after lesson report, post lesson report of whatever I've taught to maybe the relevant companies that I work with. Those things actually took up way more time than I expected, and this was and the reason why I talked about this is because this has been a recurring cycle for me, which this was what happened to me during the time when I was doing my production as well. It's not the time when you are spending your time carrying cameras, shooting, and also doing editing, all these things that make that kills my passion at that point of time. It was really all these kind of mundane things that legitimately slowly kill off my passion for, particularly at that point of time, production side of things, to the point that I have to look for other things or seek other passions in order to keep myself going. And this recently happened when I think it was Andrew who you asked a very simple question, like, how do you keep your passion going during one of our WhatsApp chat. And this got me thinking, like, with all these things that happen, like, it doesn't necessarily need to be mundane stuff that cause your passion to be killed. It can be other things, dealing with clients, working with maybe say something that you don't really enjoy for too long, which all these things suddenly it dawned on me that at the lowest point of your time, how do you manage to make sure that you can keep your whatever your passion going, and without considering maybe say it's not enjoyable anymore, that kind of mindset, but more towards how do you keep yourself continuing on the very thing that you really used to believe that you are good at. You really think that you hope that you can do it for the rest of your life.
Okay. Before I answer that, I do want to give you kudos on your very first introduction. Not bad.
Yeah.
I'll take you a few more tries to get smoother.
Mm-hmm.
And nice segue.
Yeah.
Nice segue from asking us a very innocent question to how many hours we work a day to going to topic. Wow, that was smooth.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But yes. To answer your question, I dare not say for Basil, so I'll speak for myself. Right. I'm in the creative line, and I do. How I earn my money is I create branding videos for my clients.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Yes.
So 90% of what I do is pre-decided by the client already. So the client will come to me with say, hey, I want to do this kind of video that brands me in this way.
Mm-hmm.
Then my only part of creativity in it is like maybe say direction or okay, we can shoot this one you using this style or this camera technique, or I can edit it differently to be more creative. So I think maybe what you're driving at is how do we recover from a burnout?
Yes, almost that close. Yeah, I had a very bad. I'll probably share a little bit about my.
Why not you share first?
Yeah. My background was okay. Previously, I have 2 burnouts, massive one. I don't know whether Bess really knew about the first one. I shared my second one very extensively. My first one was actually during our time when we were doing NDP.
2012.
Yeah, 2012. It was a massive burnout that caused me to really sort of having a second thought about whether or not I should continue production line. And the whole thing was not really just about going to the set and shoot. I think that period of time, the only time I was energized was legitimately when I was carrying the camera and really just went in and just start shooting NDP or anything related to that at that point of time. But it was an external thing that surrounds me that caused me to felt that burnout, like for example financially, because that was free and a lot of things need to be spent, and also family pressures at that point of time, and all these things started to cause me to have quite a fair bit of burnout to the point that I need to step out. But it was the second one that I had was even worse because I'm not gonna go into, because of the people who are listening may know where I was. I was engaged for certain services at that point of time, and
you had to clarify what kind of services, because it
filming,
sounds a bit ambiguous right now.
Okay, photography and video services. Okay.
Certain
freelance services.
Yeah, basically, I was doing teaching and
you go KTV?
No.
or fish pot.
Yeah, fish pot. Anyway. Anyway, I was doing teaching while I was doing filming and photography at the site, including editing and all. And I think during the time, because it was a full-time job, so I pretty much have to juggle all these 3 at the same time, because all 3 are part of my job scope as a full-timer. And I remember vividly that I spent most of my time trying to switch from one specific role, like being a trainer, immediately going into a photographer role, or being a videographer role almost instantly like this. And it went down to the point that almost every single time they have any events or even just a very minor thing, I have to be called to just show up and take photo, and I have to drop every single thing, my work as a trainer at that point of time, or even my duty. At one point in time, there was a certain role that I was assigned to, and I spent hours preparing for that role. Then all of a sudden on the actual day, because certain ministers show up and I need to be the official photographer at that point of time, I had to drop everything, and I was sinking my teeth on that particular role initially, and I had to drop everything on the spot. So all this created a massive burnout so bad that I shared with Bess that at that point of time I had a phobia with camera, that I dare not carry a camera for the longest period of time. And it was only until I think last year or the year before that I slowly recover from it till now that I finally willing to do, you know, some production, not say production side, but my own things where it requires me to do some setups for my cameras, etc. And even so, I keep it minimal because I really don't want suddenly that thought of it was become a daunting thought that I need to set things up like lights, stands, camera settings, positioning, everything. Suddenly it dawned on me. So it went down to the point that, you know what, just keep it simple. At least I feel what I want. And I suddenly also at the same time I decided that, you know what, putting myself in front of the camera felt more enjoyable as compared to, you know, behind the camera all of a sudden. It really hits me hard during the period of time. So that's why I wanted to ask that particular questions that, you know, how at the lowest that you feel, like how do you make sure that even when you're this close to getting a burnout, how do you get past that stage? I'm pretty sure both of you had that for 10 years. I didn't even get past that milestone yet.
Shit, man, it just dawned upon me that next year is my 10th year in the industry. What the fuck? Seriously. Well, I think the whole burnout thing happens
This
to
is
me.
my 10th year in the industry.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Ever since I was 21 when I finished NS, within the week I went to register Shuttle Productions already.
Oh, Shadow.
Right.
So Shuttle Productions was so prop.
Right.
But I still had to go through Accra nonsense
Yeah,
to make it so prop.
yeah.
Then in 2016 I rebranded it to PL,
Right.
which is the content creators.
Right. Shadow.
Yeah.
Well, I still remember that Lenore joke from last week, man.
That was
fucking funny.
that was good, but I mean I do have to give you props. That was a really, really good joke.
Burnout. I think it happens every couple of years lah. Yeah. Or maybe even months, man, depending on the workload.
Yeah.
Yeah. How I get through them? First I watch a lot of Netflix. No, serious.
Wow.
Serious. I think it's important, like whenever I feel like things are getting overwhelming, right? I would just drop everything and just retreat into my hole. Yeah, just do whatever I want to do. Of course,
you give time to yourself.
Yeah.
of course that can be quite irresponsible sometimes. But pushing yourself to tahan the workload sometimes is also irresponsible. Because especially when, you know, okay, it's fine to do that in your 20s, I feel.
Yeah.
Like it's fine to push yourself a little bit more in your 20s. Because that's the decade where, you know, you're learning about the industry, you're trying to find your way, make your mark, right?
Yeah.
But
correct.
I think it's not very it's not the healthiest thing to do for your body or your mind. And when you turn 30, I had a really bad burnout when I was 30. I was wondering like why I came into the industry to achieve a certain goal that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I hadn't even come close to it.
Yeah.
And you know, things were just not well for me lah. So I decided, okay, you know, fuck it. I'm just gonna one thing that I'm gonna do for myself from then on is that whenever it's work versus me, whenever these two things conflict, I'll always pick myself first over the work. Yeah. Especially if it's client work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was what you brought up one very important point, which is also partially the reason why I felt that my burnout actually happened, was the fact that I also set out the goal that what I wanted to achieve and what I wanted to do as a content creator, as somebody who wants to do production. But apparently that it got so far away from me to the point that not only is it felt unreachable, I'm actually focusing more on other people's work, not getting enough credit for myself, and even worse, I was doing things and overstressing myself physically and mentally to the point that I felt that, you know, I just don't think that it's worth it anymore. That kind of feeling. It's no longer just I don't enjoy it anymore.
Yeah,
It's almost like it's almost like why am I doing all this thing for?
Yeah, the second time you mentioned, the second time you burn out, right?
Yeah.
When you were describing it to me, it felt like you felt obligation to. You felt like not say obligation, not you,
Yeah.
but you felt like you were being obligated by another party to fulfill their objective,
Yes.
just because you are the one who know how to use the camera.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a terrible feeling, because same thing, I felt that a lot of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to make a disclaimer first, okay, in case whoever my ex-colleague is listening, I love the place. I still love it. To this day, I have the fondest memory of that particular place, and I'll never take it away. But at the same time, I also have to acknowledge the fact that this led me to really didn't dare to carry a camera for the longest period of time. So I have to also acknowledge the fact that burnout actually happened. So for those who are listening and your ex-colleague or mine, you guys are still the greatest. I just can't stand the work. That's all.
But
Yeah.
I think if you think of it from a different point of view, if that didn't happen, it wouldn't make you to the person you are today as well. No?
Mm,
I mean, it's easy to say that looking back, lah.
yeah, it's
of
easy.
course.
Yeah,
That is usually the looking back thought.
correct.
Yeah. To be honest, it also made me okay in a way that it did help me because there was a choice to be made at that point of time because I lost my interest and my passion for production, but it did created something else in exchange, which is my feeling for being in front of audiences, being in front of camera, being in front of the crowd, to the point that I decided to sign up for a method acting class at that point of time, just to feel that there's something else. But at the same time, I also thought back on one very important something very daunting is that had I not found that part to replace my interest or my passion for productions, I might lose a certain identity because that has been me for the longest period of time. Especially that was sort of the first identity that I managed to seek and find at that point of time.
Your calling is to be a performer rather than someone behind the scenes.
I kind of felt that for the longest period of time it was the other way around. It was the other way around. Like I don't want to be the performers. I just want to be someone creating my own content. Yeah, and all of a sudden it changed because I realized that but at the same time that is hindsight. Like thinking back, this is a good thing or whatsoever. But at the same time, I also will sort of think that if I didn't have that burnout, maybe I could have continued what I like or what I'm passionate for. I wouldn't be going another route, which sometimes you will think back and go, what if you can continue doing what you like as a producer, as somebody who in the production line, creating your content? What do you think? What will be the future or what will be the outcome? Thinking that way. I'm not saying that I would want to go back again to having a time machine to think back that direction. But at the same time, I always think about it like how do people manage that? Because just to be sharing a bit. Also, the recent times I've also experienced this. Every year there will be a period of time where I'll have this sort of like a very close burnout at the start of the year. Since 2 years ago, every start of the year there will be a question of why am I doing all these things or why am I continuing all these things, and I will have anxiety attacks every time, and you will only sort of pacify probably around March, and by the time I hit May, June, that period, I got better.
Right.
But it was a cycle that constantly happened. So again, this is also something that I realized that it occurs to me that if I don't look at it in a serious manner, I may have a second burnout. Third burnout. Yeah.
I think in a way, it's always good to have an outlet, and that outlet has to be disconnected from your work lah. So it cannot be something that's connected to it. For example, when I watch shows, it's still connected to my work somewhat.
Yeah.
But then I don't really think so much about work when I'm watching the show, because I'm just like sitting there and taking it in. And then of course there's the playing of games, which I've taken up recently.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just use that to focus lah and think. Yeah.
It's something that I think maybe that can be one way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Consider the fact that I'm very suck at game. You guys played with me before. I think best you played with me tons. You played with me before on
FIFA.
FIFA and all. Minus a couple of times where I can win you by luck. Most of the time I'm trash. Yeah. So that is that. I definitely think that I agree that the best way to do is to step away from work, and at times I think that this is also a challenge as well, especially I'm more of a focused person, so whenever I'm looking at things, like once I learn something, I can never go back. So when I watch movies, Netflix, all this thing, there have a tendency that now knowing all the things, all the know-hows, I'll sit down there and I'm almost like, trying to review, pick apart things, like how they did it, like what went right, what went wrong, that kind of thing. All of a sudden, it's like work again, that kind of feeling. It's kind of very hard for me to pull myself away from that portion at times. I did have a way that helped me, but it's only during pre-COVID season. And I think I shared with you before that I have this earlier, like usually I have I think I started this during the time when before I left during 2015 2016 that period. I think it's because, and thanks to you, because we went to KL at that point in time. So I realized that it helps to ease that portion a little bit, because we went to KL during one of our anniversary.
The traveling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The traveling part, and one
of the day anniversary.
It was a day anniversary, and I got the chance to extend my stay. You guys left.
Oh yeah, we left earlier.
Yeah, I extended my stay for another day.
Yeah.
And I think that it rejuvenated me a little bit during that one day, to the point that I decided, you know what, I'm going to do this every year. And I did. So for every year before COVID, I will go, and I realized that you need to go overseas, because Singapore, as long as you're contactable, that's another story. Like I actually off my roaming because of that. So I off my roaming, I go straight to, my house is near JB, so I can easily just pick up my belongings, go to the nearest hotel in JB, or maybe say, I think I went to KL with you and I extended my stay also.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
If someone I'm tagging along goes to somewhere else, and I will extend my stay a little longer, or I will just go straight to maybe say JB, book a hotel. I just shut myself up for almost 3-4 days. And the only time I get out is either do minor shoppings or just to have my meals. And most of the time I'm not touching work, I'm not touching anything. I'm just pretty much keep myself shut. Probably watch a few shows, whatever the television there is offering. But I'm definitely not online. I'm definitely not contactable via calls. And I just, you can say that I can meditate there. I'll just meditate there and whatsoever. So I usually would do that. So now, without the ability to do so because of COVID, that also made me feel that I need to find another alternative to get that avenue that I needed. If not, again, burnout may happen, which I don't know when. Yeah.
Do you feel like you're close to another one?
I don't think so. I'm at that point of stage yet. But when Andric brought it out, like how do you keep the passion going, and during the message, it really struck me that, those burnout do happen, and then how do you manage that? So that's the biggest question that I tend to look at, So Andrew, what about you? Like, how do you manage that portion?
As far as I can remember, I think working in the same industry, or rather working for myself for the past 10 years, doesn't matter what industry I'm in,
Mm-hmm.
I've had mini burnouts on a year-to-year basis as well.
Mm.
But I can bring up two specific ones that I would say are rather large.
Mm.
So one of it was I mean, if I can have a little bit of story time right now.
Go ahead.
So that, I don't know if you guys know, I mean, if you don't, then you can learn a bit more about me, and the listeners can know a bit more about us as well.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started working for myself, right after national service, I went to register my company, quite badly named at that time. That's an inside joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I went to register myself to officially work for myself full time.
Mm-hmm.
And I put myself in a very dire situation. So let me explain. When I was schooling, my teacher said that I would not amount to anything.
Oh.
One of my teachers said that to me when I was in primary 4, I think. So it was one of my more notorious period where I was just not really into studies lah.
Mm-hmm.
So that has always stayed with me for a long time. And I'm also fortunate enough that when I was 10, I knew what I wanted to do. So you know, when you are 10, your highlight will be the weekend where you get to stay at home and watch Kids Central.
Yeah.
Right, so that's what I did every weekend, and I didn't go out and play with friends. I could wake up on a Saturday morning at 9, brush my teeth, have a bit of breakfast, sit down in front of a TV from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m, 6 hours non-stop, without going to the toilet, watching TV, watching cartoons, and like cartoons or shows or Ultraman Tiga or or whatever things like that. Then, my parents, sometimes they will go out and do their own things on the weekend, and then they'll come back and they will still see me lying at the same spot watching TV, not even moved an inch, so to speak. So one of the days, my mom just came back and she took me into the room and like, oh no, I thought I'm going to get the scolding of my life. But actually, no, she sat me down and she asked, son, what do you want to do for yourself when you grow up? Like, what do you want to work as? And honestly, which 10-year-old kid would know what they want to do, right?
Definitely not
So
me.
obviously my answer was, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, how would I know what I want to work? But then she shared this line with me, word for word, is you have to make sure next time whatever you work is something you enjoy. Otherwise, you'll be very miserable.
True.
So that night, I went to think, while I was lying in bed trying to fall asleep, I was looking at the ceiling and I was thinking about her words. Then you know, as a kid, it's very straightforward, your thoughts.
Yeah.
So I thought, what I want to do next time should be something I enjoy. What do I enjoy now? I enjoy watching TV shows. Okay, next time I make TV shows for other people to watch or for myself to watch.
Yeah.
Right, so I've been chasing that dream ever since. So yes, these two instances happened when I was young. Actually, come to think of it, both happened when I was in primary 4. Because P4 is when you were 10 ma.
Yeah, correct.
Right. So fast forward to a few more years later, after national service, I went to officially register myself as a photography business, sole proprietorship, and I started to take on freelance clients. Okay, I started attaching myself to more experienced photographers, videographers, and I'd be the assistant. And clients didn't pay me; they paid them, then they pay me. So I'm getting like chump change. But at the same time, I realized that my character was the very type of like very dependent. If I am at home and if I have my dinner, if I got someone to wash it for me, I want to wash it myself. So I was that lazy. So that year, when I finished NS, I did a bunch of crazy things within 1 week. I went to register my company. I went to shift all my insurance and phone bills under my name, and I moved out of my parents' house.
Oh.
That was after our whole thing though. Because I have already finished NS from...
Yeah, you finished NS, man.
Yeah. So I did all these crazy things within 1 week. So with whatever change or savings I had, I went to rent like someone's storeroom in Tampines to stay. And then I've stayed out of my parents' house since then for the past 10 years already. So the very first time that I really felt a burnout was 1 year-ish into my business, and I was just struggling. I've been struggling for the past 1 year, and I wasn't able to pay rent. I wasn't able to pay for my bills. I didn't have enough money even for food. My landlord had let me owe my rent and cook food for me every day.
Wow.
Because she knew that I was struggling. I'm trying. So I owe her also. So at that point, I actually had a thought that, wow, should I just, I've given it a year and it's not working. Should I just go and find a full-time job? I actually even went to Hang Ten to buy like interview clothes, like the long sleeve, blue color. Went to buy pants and belt and whatever already. I went to prepare to go for interview already. Right. But then when I brought home all these clothes and I put it on my bed, and I looked at it, I'm like, wow, shit, I really don't like seeing myself dressed like that. Like, I don't look forward to the next day. So I was just very, very emotional that night. Very depressed at night. I checked my bank account. I had about $300-400 left. So what I went to do was I went to spend the entire amount. I had a friend who was doing tattoos, and I gave him everything I had to do a tattoo of this. I mean, those listening can't see it now, but you guys can see it. This was my first tattoo. It's a camera lens.
Oh, okay.
It's the very first one out of the whole thing. I put it... There's a reason why I chose the lens, because I want to remind myself that this is what I want to do. It's been my dream since I was 10, and it's been 10 years since, and I don't want to give it up now. So I put it here. So I chose a lens.
Yes.
The reason why I put it here was because back then we were in the era, or at least I thought we were in the era, where if you go for a job interview and if they see that you got tattoo, they won't hire you because they think, oh, this guy Abing. Don't hire Abing, my company. And knowing myself, even if I wear long sleeve, I don't like to wear all the way to the cuffs. I like to fold.
I also...
So knowing that if I go to an interview, I will definitely fold my shirt. And if they see my tattoo, they'll be like, don't hire this guy. So it was my very childish way of forcing myself into a corner that even if I go for interview now, they won't accept me. So ever since I did that, every morning I woke up and I look at it, I'm like, too late now. I can't go back to a normal corporate life. I can't get an office job because I have tattoo. And that, in a way, weirdly pushed me to work harder. I actually, I didn't do anything that was different, but I suddenly had this positive look in my future. I had drive, and for some reason that attracted clients to me. Like, things took a turn after that. And another 10 years later, here I am . Okay, so that was my very first one. So how I dealt with it with my first one was I went to do something very extreme.
Okay.
I pushed myself into a corner, giving myself no escape route, or at least what I thought was no escape route. Right? So my second one was in the recent years, where I've been shooting property for the last 3-4 years, and there's there's nowhere else I can go already. Right? There isn't anything higher I can step on, even if this is just improving my game a little bit. But it's become so routine that I don't feel my creative mind being stretched. So how did I deal with that? I did it with Prod.cast.
Okay, that's good. I
was about to say exactly what we're doing now.
It's exactly what we're doing now. When I first thought of this Prod.cast idea, I pitched it to Basil. His first response to me was no.
When was this?
When we were drinking at Siglap.
Wow,
I said, I want to do podcast. He said, you do lah, but it's not for me. Then after a while, I managed to pitch to you again, and I gave you a more concrete plan on how the direction is going to go. And you were like, okay, sounds fun. And at that point in time, we already reconnected with SK. And then I also said, why not we include him, since we are all from production. And then I was able to give you a more fuller picture, and you were like, okay, that sounds fun. And I guess at that point in time, you were also like, hey, I have some free time now, so why not? So that's how I dealt with it. The second time I had burnout, I created a creative space for myself to de-stress and to flex my creative muscles.
I think one thing that I realized that you did is something that I sort of did as well, and it really, now that they have brought it up, then I realized that I actually have a minor burnout when I was teaching as well. I would, just to give a bit of background, when I was doing my training or basically after I left the particular full-time job as a trainer and a videographer and a photographer, I immediately jumped myself into knowing at that point of time that I need to, again, I think it's around quite similar to yours, is that I did something very extreme. I tendered my resignation 3 months, which was what the contract stated. Like, you need to give a 3 months notice for any of the resignations. And the weird part was I did it after I met the head boss, who came to my place and had a chat with me because I was outsourced. So I shared the exact same thing that I said, and it's true that I love my place. I pretty much enjoy what I'm doing, etc. And the next day, I just tender my resignations to everyone from the head office, surprise, and they even immediately arranged an exit interview just to check what's going on. So that was, and I just said that, you know what, I didn't have any plans at all, like what I need to do. So immediately after I left, I started doing training or teachings for, say, leadership programs, videography trainings, and also one thing that I hated the most, but I still decided to do it, programming trainings. That means to teach people how to do programming. And I remember at that point of time, it was still something that I wanted to try. It was very interesting, like, creating something, being creative, like see other people manage to create their own programs, like, wow, that was good. Then fast forward 3 years later, and that was I think that was a very close burnout as well, because I was remembering vividly that I really don't like to go in, like you said, like there's a few of you that feeling that, you're going there and you're just doing the same thing.
Routine, no?
Yeah, it's just a routine now. And
And doing a routine is the scariest thing for a creative.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's even worse for me because I remember I did it at a point of time where I can just switch off. My brain is off. I'm literally felt like I fall asleep, but my mouth is moving.
Autopilot.
It was autopilot to the point that I don't even know whether did I actually said the wrong things or the right
That's
thing.
quite scary.
Yeah. So it dawned on me that I decided, you know what, I just want to venture something else. And I did public speaking training, which I went in and I got, I get a public speaking cert. So I went in and I did public speaking training for a certain company. And then I thought of, you know what, just go on to do language training or language teaching. That's how I get myself into tuition. So I felt that is also another avenue that I find that is also good, is that, besides backing ourselves in the corner, at the same time, sometimes venturing into other avenues within the same thing actually benefits. You don't just focus on just one portion, because again, creative things doesn't really just only focus on one aspect. Yeah, that's how I felt. Yeah.
I think in a way, how I kept myself going is I'm always focused on the objective. Like, I know that there's an objective that I need to accomplish, but I also know that if I don't take care of myself, I won't accomplish that objective ever. Yeah. So when I need to take care of myself, I do lah. And it's right to say I think in order to keep your passion going, you definitely need to take some risk. Yeah. And it can't be like just a touch of it. It has to be really full on committed kind of risk. Because it's also easy for me to go and find a full-time job. But then what's gonna happen to whatever dream that I had? It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen easily lah. If I just do full time. Yeah.
Okay. But was it something that got you into doing singer at that point of time?
I mean, that was always the objective, right? That was always the objective. And for a while we didn't really move anything related to it, because of course we wanted to build a reputation. So during that 5-6 years before we decided to go back and do Project Leo, right? That 5-6 years was really painful, because you're working towards that objective, right? But you're not making any new grounds. You're not making any progress. At the same time, you're putting yourself out there, right? to get humiliated and ridiculed by people who think that they are better than you.
Yeah, definitely. That's a very
AKA some clients.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And people who are taking advantage of you because they know that this is your business. They know that this is what you're passionate in, and they think that just because this is something that you have committed yourself to, right?
Yeah.
You're willing to go the extra mile even for them. But then no lah, obviously not lah. And sometimes I've had to have that difficult conversation with clients to tell them, sorry, this is not working out.
Agree.
Yeah, you know.
So that's definitely something
that sort of affects affects your bottom line, you know, it affects your revenue, affects you know, and all this just compounds into stress that you need to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess one of the things that I definitely agree with you is really the fact that, you know, when you realize that the best way to really tackle this is really either you switch off yourself, and alternatively, if you think that there's no way to do so, it's really to think of taking enough risk to keep yourself motivated to continue on, because sometimes those burnout comes from the fact that there is certain level of complacency.
Yeah.
That's how that's how I feel. Yeah. So to end this off, I think that why?
So early. Okay, can.
I thought that you
No. Let's go.
Yeah. I thought that you guys I thought that no, because I think that the conversation is pretty straightforward in a way. Because I don't think so that there
Actually,
is
no.
It's very complex, eh?
Yeah, when you first opened with the topic, I actually thought that this is it's a topic with a very huge scope.
Okay, I can definitely continue on if you I can definitely, because to me
unless you want to narrow the scope lah.
No, I'm not. I definitely think that is one of those things that I definitely agree with you guys, that putting a risk, like, okay, now then maybe to put it in another perspective is, how much risk? Okay, maybe at this point, maybe when we're doing all these things, especially particularly for you guys did it when you are in your 20s, when you realize that there's a burnout and you need to do something, you need to make a change. Now, right now, you guys, all three of us are basically in our 30s.
Yep.
How much risk do you think that you are able to go? Do you think that, how far do you think you want to go? Or you are willing to take? If ever there's another burnout that comes to your way, and then now you need to, you know, try to do something different. Like, how far do you think that you are willing to go in terms of taking risks to become even more creative than whatever you are doing right now?
I think as men in our 30s, that's not a question that we can answer very straightforward anymore.
Yeah, definitely.
In our 20s, we will say, no, just go out, don't care, just, you know, grind your teeth, just grind through the hustle. But in our 30s, we tend to mellow down. We tend to think a little bit more about the ramifications of our actions, of our choices, of our words even.
Yeah, exactly.
So in a way, to answer your core question is, I guess it's a good thing that neither of us right now, at this moment, while recording this, neither of us are burdened with families or children.
Yeah.
So we don't feel the extra stress of worrying about a burnout.
Yeah.
But yet at the same time, at least for me and Basil, or at the very least for me, it has been something that I've been doing for the past 10 years. And I don't see myself giving it up anytime soon. Because when you think about it at the other end, if let's say today I give up my practice, then what am I going to do next? Right? What other skills can I bring to any other industry that plays in my favor, or rather even plays in their favor? Like, what can I value add to anybody else if it's not within my industry? So I'm sort of answering a question without answering a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, even at this point of time, none of us can give a very clear-cut answer, like, you know, how much risk we
It's
can
not
take.
as straightforward anymore.
Yeah. And the thing is, there's also that consideration that, okay, I have to be thankful first of all to you guys that I sort of reinvigorated a little bit about my love for productions, partly because involving in podcasts. Albeit right now I know what I want as well. So I again I mentioned I like to be in front of the camera right now. I like to be more expressive. I want to be heard. I want to be getting the attention that I want in a legitimate, convincing way, not those Joker-ish kind of way or clownish kind of way. And it gave me that platform.
Like Kamen Rider Deno?
No, it's even worse than that. Yeah,
You do Deno, man?
yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I was the one. I was the one.
He did it for Custom Works.
Yeah.
He did the
Yeah.
Henshin sequence, and then he had this special thing
Damn,
where
Custom
he
Works.
flipped the belt and he caught it.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
yeah.
went into the
I
thing.
remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
And then-
damn.
Anyway,
And then all of us with the camera was like, whoa!
Yeah.
Damn,
It
Custom
was-
Works. That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
yeah. So, but at the very least, right now, I see that I like this kind. That's why I enjoyed teaching at times, because you look at the students' expression, you look at how they really pay attention to you and listen to what you say, and they are receptive to what you are saying. And people who are sitting at the side, colleagues and all, they are not looking at you with a very ridiculous mindset, and that kind of attention suddenly gravitates. I gravitate this kind of attention, and I realized that having the ability to do my own things, do my own lesson plan, do my own idea, like sending my own ideas out, makes me feel like this portion is something that probably 5 years ago I wouldn't have thought of.
So let me ask you then,
Yeah.
doing what you do now, would you consider that your current passion?
Yeah, and I realized that, but I have to continue on. Like I said, I need to find another avenue to continue this, because at the end of the day, one of the things that I realized and it dawned on me was the fact that I'm still doing other people's work, like what you guys are saying. Like I'm freelance for other people, for other companies, doing basically whatever things that they ask me to do or they have provided for me. So I always wanted to have the ability to create my own things. Even when I was doing my training for even just a very minor thing like teaching videography, I said, okay, I want my own curriculum. I want this to be that way.
You are doing what you love, but you feel that you have no control over it.
Yes, and I wanted more control. So to me, I always thought of, and I remember one thing that you guys said last week when we were sitting down and we were talking about, how am I supposed to bring value to my current job and all this kind of thing. And and the powerful thing was, I think Andrew, you said something about how you promoted yourself. You said that you did a 10 reasons why property agents should choose me, or why you should actually use video to promote your properties. And you spent around around $50 on a Facebook ad, and it started to build that, or to able to get people to come in and call.
I see.
And I didn't, and then my first reaction was, even if, and then I add on to my own mindset that even if I don't need $50, even if no one actually watching, why not I do this? Why not I run my own lesson? Right? Why not I run my own lesson? Take a 5 minutes, like what you said, just take a 5 minutes snippets of what I can teach, and I put it up online. Whether or not I'm going to use the ad to really promote myself out there.
No, I think because you are doing things for yourself.
Yeah, suddenly I feel like, that's the thing. I need to do something for myself.
Yeah.
No longer just focus on, and that was the reason why I realized that burnout happened, because 9 times out of 10, like what Ben said, it's always you're doing someone else's things and you're not doing what you want.
You are using your expertise to fill somebody else's.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. And suddenly the emptiness happened. So I realized that was something that I that's why I wanted to bring out this particular conversation with all of you, because I realized this particular portion is what made a lot of people. And I want to send this message to the listeners as well, that sometimes it's not because you had burnout or you don't feel like you're just doing what some of the people, they tend to say that, oh, I feel empty inside, or I just feel like something is missing when they're talking about their life whatsoever. Maybe that's the reason, I feel.
So I guess you are asking the listeners as well as yourself in a way, when was the last time any of you did anything for yourself?
Yes. it was definitely something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, selfishly, when I do videos for my agents, I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it for them. But them paying me for it keeps me going, and doing things like Prod.cast, it is selfishly for myself, and for it is selfishly for myself while I drag down the two of you in this with me.
Yeah.
But it has rejuvenated me. In fact, I was sharing with Basil that I slept really late last night.
Yeah.
Because I was busy editing work, because my current freelance editor, she fell sick and she wasn't able to get the work done, and it's 2 days to deadline. So I had no choice but to do it myself. I burned the midnight oil, and I had to get it done but I didn't feel alive while doing it. Then Basil is like, "Wow, you okay now?" Then you still do this today? I was like, actually, this is the highlight of my week, because in this entire week, coming here today to record this with you boys is the only time I'm doing something professional for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need a creative outlet lah.
Yeah. Definitely. And I remember I watched this RSL video years ago.
Wait,
I
what's
don't know
RSL?
Some talk, or some very close to TED Talk, and this it was those kind of like typical whiteboard animation that you see prior to that. I don't know whether you all know about that. There's one period of time everybody loves to use those kind of whiteboard animations.
Yeah.
And this particular video, it was 10 over years ago, and I never grasped that concept until recently. Like sometimes you watch things, but you just never understood until you are the one experiencing it. He said something about building a purpose. That's what motivates people to work.
Yeah, like it comes back to what I said earlier. You need to have an objective.
Yeah, an objective. So and I mean, as in, that creative outlet is a purpose. I don't know. That's what I feel. I'll be very honest right now. I have tons of stuff that I need to work on. I have tons of marking for another company that I need to work on, because I'm engaged tuition with them, and they have, and trust me, is really massive. I every single time I'm dragging myself to actually do marking. But if you ask me, right, I'm willing to put them aside and come over here to do podcast, not to suck up, but the fact that I think that this is something that I want to do. Yeah, I felt that this is, again, I think most of us realize that this
episode of Prod.cast is sponsored by Prod.cast.
Yeah.
It feels like we are shamelessly plugging our own show through our own show.
Yeah.
But definitely,
But yes.
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from, and I'm glad that while I started this thing selfishly to fill my own creative void, I'm glad that it's helping you too.
Yeah, definitely. So it's something that but again, this also boils down to, find. That's why we said at this, how do you manage burnout? This, to us, I think all three of us, this is how I managed it. But as for, I wouldn't know how the listener, I mean, it's not going to apply to any other people out there who are listening. So that's also one thing that people should, maybe you guys can also think about, and that is, what other outlets do you guys think that people can do if they don't have that opportunity like we did? Like, honestly speaking, this opportunity just felt nicely. Like we kept in touch, and we just, I mean,
you need to speak into the mic. Your mouth keeps going away, then
your
voice.
Sorry. Okay. You basically, if I hadn't touched base or kept in touch with Andric, especially consider the fact that I didn't get to know you first, he did. And then it led to this, I wouldn't know what will happen. And guess what? It was during the pandemic period that this happened. I always think that,
the stars align for all
of
us.
It's like, it just happens to be there, that the stars are aligned. Then the next question will be, if right now the listeners are looking at this direction and they need something, they can't expect, or having to have a friend to able to do something with them to build that or to reinvigorate their passion.
Let me answer that through using still using this as an example. Okay. You have been feeling a burnout. You have not been feeling very very like you don't feel like you have been contributing or leaving a legacy behind.
Yeah.
Okay, especially now during the COVID period where it just makes things 10 times harder.
Yes.
And it just so happens that a random friend that you haven't met in the last 10 years reconnected with you and your other friend, and he started a new creative show together.
Yeah.
Okay, you can see it that way, but you can also see it that if you didn't say yes, if you didn't decide on your own to carve out time to come here and do all this with us, you would be in the same rut, right? So there is really no one to thank but yourself. So this also in a way translates to the listeners out there who might be feeling the same way but might not necessarily have the opportunity, air quotes, for a show like Prod.cast. They need to open themselves up to new opportunities lor. If let's say this person has never tried ice skating before, go try it. You know, you might enjoy it, you might not, but at least you know for sure, right? If this person hasn't tried doing something out of their comfort zone, go try it. You don't have to wait till someone says, hey, let's go. You can always be the one that say, hey, I want to go. Do you want to go with me? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Just so happens that in our case, it was me lah. But if I started it and if you and Basil didn't say yes, this show wouldn't have carried on anyway. It wouldn't even have started to begin with.
True.
Yeah, I think what people need to have is they need you're saying an outlet, right? You need to be open to new hobbies and experiences.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like you know, something that challenges you, something that helps you relax, whatever, you know, something that takes your mind off the critical things in life.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just, you know, a new experience will be great. Now we can't travel, so we have to be a bit more creative in that regard.
Yeah. And be more flexible about what you can do. Like, I never expect myself to be able to be in front of the camera doing all these things. I'll be genuinely honest. Like, you asked me 10 years ago, standing in front of the camera and talk in front of the camera is one of the toughest thing ever.
I mean, to add on to a little bit on Basil's point, you don't have to. I mean, while it's good that if you're able to be creative with new things you want to try, that's great. But if you don't have that, if you feel that, hey, but I'm not so creative, I don't know what's gonna reinvigorate me or rejuvenate me or anything like that, just think, lor, what is something that you have always wanted to do but never got a chance because you had a busy work schedule? Now would be likely be the best chance to try it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's still open.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, whatever you want to do, if it's to learn something new, especially even learning a new language, you can do it online. I took it upon myself during reservist this year to learn Spanish for like an hour a day.
Wow.
And because I was bored. Because I was bored during reservist. Oh shit, if they hear this, then they might amp up our...
It's okay.
It's okay. I mean,
I made a Facebook post about being bored with reservist before. It got escalated to almost the highest level.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Shocks, yeah. Like the first day of reservist, I copy on Facebook. Then the next day, they suddenly started to find something for me to do. Yeah. Instant action.
So social media does work at times.
It does.
Yeah.
But it also does to help to have some of those people on your Facebook.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I guess that in a way answers your question. This topic is simple but complicated at the same time.
Yeah.
But whether it's simple or complicated, it depends on the individual. You can make it as simple as you want it to be. I'm bored, go find something to do. Or if you want to make it so complicated, I'm bored, but I don't know what to do. What should I do? This? Should I do this? Should I do that? If you have too much considerations, you are always at square one.
Yep.
True.
Yep. Think too much.
Just go and do it.
Yeah.
As long as it's legal and it doesn't hurt anyone else.
Yeah.
Just go and try.
Then just do it. Like, you don't share it, but that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that I think all the listeners can also take back after this. Yeah. So I guess to really end this off, I would say that try something different or try to find a purpose to whatever that you're doing, if you ever feel the same way as we did, like, you know, having that kind of burnout that really questions or make you question your life, I think that is one thing that people can really think of. Because at the end of the day, one thing that I always see is your identity shouldn't be tied to just your work.
Mm.
And this will
Yes.
help you to open up
Mm.
new things. Then, you know, a lot of us just, you know, being tied up to work so much that our identity is attached to work. And
Yep.
this is something that maybe people can start looking into, so that opportunities, when opportunities knocks, you are definitely be able to say yes.
Yep.
Mm.
That's my point of view.
Yep.
Mm.
That's right.
Cool.
That's right.
Okay, so we're gonna end off the episode here.
Yes.
Yeah, we hope that you've learned something. If not, we hope that you just enjoyed our content and,
Mhm.
and enjoyed the sharing. And thank you, SK, for being vulnerable and sharing with us how you feel
Sure.
and how you go over and things like that.
Mm.
We do implore all of you guys, if you are feeling this burnout or this lack of passion in life,
Mm.
especially during this COVID period,
Yep.
do something about it. And if you really feel that you need to seek help and you are mentally unwell, please do seek help.
Yes.
There are many
Yeah,
avenues out there
please
that can help you, so
Mm.
don't be ashamed.
Yep.
Because I mean, on the darker side of things, when someone else goes through something like this, they might go down a very dark and spirally path,
Yeah.
which will lead to something very, very bad,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah.
So we don't want that to happen to any of you. So yeah, just find someone to talk to
Mm.
at the
Definitely.
very least.
Yeah.
So with that, we'll end off this episode. It's a bit heavy, but the
Yes.
next one is going to be a bit lighter.
Yes.
You can find all of us. You can find all of our content on Google Podcasts and Spotify. I believe you're probably hearing this on Spotify right now, but we also have a visual version of our podcast on YouTube. That's where you can talk to us and leave us comments, and we will reply you. So please do. On YouTube, you will also be able to find visual reactions of shows like Loki and Oshman Trigger. That's all we have right now. So do tune in. And with that said, thank you for listening, and bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.